Dr. Gingrey for 5 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. This hearing is much appreciated, pretty poignant to me since Brooke Melton lived in my congressional district at the time, and had it not been for an outstanding plaintiff's attorney in the Cobb Judicial District of Georgia and bringing this case, I'm sure it was against the local dealership, resulted in a settlement, but it brought to light what's going on now and the purpose, and hopefully some good can come from this hearing. And I want to thank Chairman Murphy for holding it and investigating the root cause of the General Motors recall of over 2.6 million vehicles linked to these ignition defects. Unfortunately, Ms. Barr, I heard just yesterday that the recall now includes 6.3 million vehicles. And I do want to speak a little about this young lady named Brooke Melton, a nurse in Paulding County, Georgia, which at the time was in the district I represent, and she was, as you know, tragically killed March the 10th, 2010, on her 29th birthday in a horrific side impact accident on Highway 92 and the ignition switch in the accessory position. Just the day before her death, she took her 2005 Chevy Cobalt into the dealership for service. And the service report stated, "Customer states engine shut off while driving, please check," end of quote. Despite the fact that a service bulletin was issued from General Motors for faulty ignition switches back in 2005 for that make and that model, the on-site mechanics cleaned the fuel line, cleaned the fuel injection, told her to come pick up her car, which she did. Brooke Melton's tragic death is not acknowledged as part of this recall because it involved a side impact instead of a front impact. Mrs. Melton's parents, Ken and Beth, they're not here today, I don't think, but they deserve answers. Ms. Barra, is Brooke Melton included in General Motors' death count, yes or no?
To my knowledge, no.
No?
Because it was a side impact, and we've been
right. Why did General Motors not include the non-deployment of airbags from side impact accidents resulting in loss of life or injury in this recall?
As you look at a frontal collision and the way the airbag is to operate, I believe the assessment was made that would potentially be related to the switch.
Yeah, but Ms. Barra, if you connect the dots, I mean, the ignition gets knocked over to the accessory position. There was a problem. You're using faulty, even by your own standards, equipment. And so maybe what happened was that all of a sudden the car stalls. She's driving perfectly, trying to control without any power steering, without any power brakes, may very well have, and I don't know the details of that accident, but may very well have run through a four-way or a red light and was slammed into from the side. Whether it was a head-on collision or a side collision, it was for the same reason, and she is dead. And that was almost 4 years ago. I don't understand why General Motors does not include the non-deployment of airbags from side impact accidents resulting in loss of life or injury in this recall. Can you explain that to us?
Well, first of all of the accidents and fatalities are very tragic, as you've indicated, and we're deeply sorry for those. We've been very clear of the number that we put forward. There's been a lot of analysis that's gone on to look at potential incidents. And
well, does General Motors investigate, or do you plan to investigate, whether this condition relates to the non-deployment of airbags and side impact crashes?
We have individuals that are looking at the available information from accidents.
You told us about your recent hire, and I hope they will. Lastly, Ms. Baer, to what extent did GM regularly inform dealerships, like the dealership obviously in Cobb County, of its 2005 Technical Service Bulletin on faulty ignition switches, so that these service technicians, these young guys, maybe working there 6 months to a year, that they could properly address a customer complaint like Brooke had the day before her death?
I'm sorry, was your question, how do we communicate service bulletins? I didn't.
How do you make sure that these dealerships all across the country and their service departments are making sure that their technicians are getting and receiving the instruction?
We can provide details on exactly how we communicate service bulletins and how that's rolled out to each of our dealerships across the country.
I hope you will. Thank you, Ms. Barra. And Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Ms. Barrett, related to his questions, with all these cars in recall and